Good morning, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the GIMI think tank. This week, we have an amazing speaker who's talking about economic growth and driving economic growth at scale used through SMEs, small, medium-sized companies enabled by innovation. The purpose of the GIMI think tank is to talk about three different types of topics. One is about what are the trends that are completely transforming the world and the industry. Number two, what is going on in innovation management itself and what are the newest and latest thinkings on that. And the last one is with what's going on in specific countries. Sometimes we get a chance to talk about all three simultaneously. Alice, who's going to be speaking about innovation, SMEs in Colombia, will tell us about multiple things about new innovation management techniques, what's going on in Colombia, and how they're actually driving innovation at scale. So we learn about the country also. Alice is a dear friend, and she and I have been working together for many, many years. And when I had met her, she was very, very early in her careers. And she had actually just started this program, and she had been given a challenge by the Ministry of Science of Colombia saying, can we drive economic growth in SMEs enabled by innovation? Can we drive growth, sustained growth, new growth in our country and transform the country out there? At that moment, we had a very nice conversation. And I remember there was nervousness in terms of saying, can we do something so big and bold, 10,000 companies at the same time and all this. And she's one of the boldest, one of the most courageous persons that I've met. And though she was worried and scared, she didn't stop at all and leaned forward and made something happen. She's got a story to share with all of us. I think you guys will enjoy the story. Alice, this is your platform. Please give a little bit more background about yourself and then also tell the story of what you did and maybe then we can do Q&A around this topic. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Hitendra, very much for that introduction and welcome everyone. It is my pleasure and an honor to share this experience in the GIMI think tank. I hope you find it useful and of course insightful and that you enjoy it as much as I did as I lived all this process. So let me share my screen. So will you please confirm if
Alice, while you're doing that, tell us your background. What did you study?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to lead the business innovation strategy working for the government over almost 10 years. And my background is an industrial engineer, and I also have a master's degree in industrial engineer. And over those years, I had the opportunity to be part of many trainings in different countries around entrepreneurship, around innovation, around designing innovation policy and measure innovation policies and programs, and in Singapore, in Israel, in Chile, in Brazil, in Spain, and in different countries. I was part of not only to represent the country, but be part of trainings, to understand what are the top things around innovation and how we can bring that to our country. So over those 9 to 10 years, I had the opportunity to lead the business innovation strategy. And we went through a very amazing process that I'm going to share with you today, which comes from doing small pilots and then reach a huge target and getting a big numbers and making a big project for the country. So that is what, yeah.
If I may just add, the work that Alice did, we're going to read about that in textbooks, and Harvard Business School and other major universities will write about it. And then some professor will write a methodology on how to do it. This is the practical scientist. This is the practical person who's actually gone and done it through trial and error, who then went on to create success cases. And for that reason, there will probably be no textbooks before this, but there will be many textbooks written on what was done, not only as a case studies, but people will say this is how to do it. And the expertise are in the practitioners. Alice is one of those practitioners.
Yeah, so okay, so let's start it. Let me see if you can please confirm if you can see it right now.
No, Alice, not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, let me see. I don't know why is. Let me just. Okay, got it.
I think we lost her for a second. She'll return. This is the challenge of technology. So I'll set the stage up as she does this. Colombia has been a country that has been going through some dark times and has been transformed from dark times into becoming the innovation leader across the globe in what it's doing today. And so many people have the wrong stereotypes of what Colombia is versus what it's doing now in the last 25 years. This story is about the new Colombia. Alice, if you're back, I'm going to give you the floor again.
Yeah, thank you. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's go. So I'm going to share the experience of driving an ecosystem to build innovation system in thousands of SMEs in Colombia. So what I'm going to cover here is what's behind setting that vision of making Colombia one of the most innovative countries in the region, how we create a platform to drive the ecosystem and generate commitment to our vision, how we develop a portfolio of projects to build innovation systems in thousands of SMEs in Colombia, and what were the key success factors and some ideas of what is next after this amazing experience. So what's behind setting a vision of making Colombia one of the most innovative countries is that we look to past projects. And when we look to past projects, we identified key learnings, and we found that there were entrepreneurship initiatives and projects that were not really became businesses. That we found experiences around business plans or many amazing prototypes, but with that were not developed closer to the market. So no one was willing to buy it or to really capture that value. We found in those past projects, R&D projects, and it is okay to do it, but there were not the innovation part of that R&D. So that R&D results were just right there in the desk. And when we look to past projects, we also found that resources were focused mainly on individual projects. So that make very specific projects with very specific results, but with not a higher impact. And the organization, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation is an organization that acts as a country that should act to get to all the regions. So we found that when we look to past projects at that moment. And the other thing that we found is that results and impact measurement wasn't part of the discipline. So if you don't measure, you don't know what is really working and what is not. So we didn't have, which initiative is working. You don't have the information, you don't have the measures that allows you to make decisions on what should you continue to doing. So we identify those key learnings by looking to past projects, and we found that we need to add competences, we need to build capabilities, we need to increase the coverage in the regions, we need to share results, and in summarize, we need to think as a country. So we came out with this question of what if Colombia will be one of the most innovative countries in the region by 2025. And of course, we have in the national surveys that less than 1% of Colombian companies were innovating. So to be one of the most innovative countries in the region, of course, there are many variables around that. But one of them is working with the productive sectors. And that was part of the arena where I was working on. And so we set the target of building innovation systems in more than 10,000 companies. So that is the context which we set up the vision by looking back to past projects and embrace those key learnings and think big and think as a country. So, so when we embrace those key learnings from past projects, we also develop pilots to get quick wins to reach the target. And we had the opportunity to develop a very important pilot to get that quick win with the support of the IDB and the World Bank. And the main focus of developing this pilot is that we brought intelligence, so we identify 5 international methodologies to bring them to the country, and we test also cohort-based approach, because what we see in the key learnings is that very individual projects we are not going to have the impact that is expected from a national level institution. So we test cohort-based approaches, we measure impact. We did all the exercise. I would say that perhaps it's the first time that we did it as a country to measure. You had the baseline before the companies started the process. We did a measure during the process and after the process. So we started to test and create that discipline of measure to see what is working and what is not, and to improve, of course, later. And we also allow the matching grants in this process, but differently, not in the traditional way that funding one specific project, but matching grants within the context of having the methodologies, the techniques to build capabilities and make sure that the company is gonna be able to do it over and over again. We don't want them to do it just only once. So that was another variable that we test in this pilot and in these quick wins. And we also use all the knowledge of these companies to train trainers, because of course we need to create also a market of potential providers for these services if we want to move to the whole country. So this was a quick win, let's say, that we did, where you can see we test very specific things that gave us a lot of insights, and at the end they create a strong foundation for what came later, which was to scaling up. So this was to summarize the key learnings, the quick wins by doing this pilot with the support of the IDB, with the World Bank, and many things around that. We also did another pilot, but I wanted to highlight this one, which was with the most insightful pilot and a quick win, and that creates that solid foundation. So with that, we had, as you can see, we had many insights and many things related to the process, and now we were able to create a platform to drive the ecosystem and generate commitment to our vision. And that is why we work on a platform, Pactos por la Innovación, which was the platform that allowed us to talk strategically as a country about how we would achieve that vision. So we not only embraced the key learnings of the past projects, we also embraced all the insights of the quick wins. And there are 3 key aspects of this platform. That was to identify key regional partners. So in Colombia, for those who don't know, all the companies, it is mandatory for all the companies to be registered in the chambers of commerce. So you can imagine that we identified chambers of commerce as a key strategic partner. And so we started the conversation with them, understanding that we had the same target, and we start generating win-win agreements because we have the same interest of making Colombia a better place to live. And that was part of the process is, you know, working with the companies and to generate employments and all the things related to that. So we generate alignment with all these key potential partners, and we commit to results, because that is a key aspect. We we were not like with nothing in those conversations. We had quick wins. We could see, we had the right to say we have results. We know how to do it. We have this previous experience, and so that gave them also confidence to be part of the process. We also developed a portfolio, an initial portfolio of benefits in these platforms that were focused mainly on building innovation capabilities, to access fundings, to build networks, and of course, in each region, they have also another capabilities or another things to give to the region. So we combine them, and in different regions, the portfolio of benefits could look differently because they were able to allow other things depending of their resources. And the other key aspects of creating this platform was the mobilization. Of course, we generate engagement and commitment and collaboration by doing very huge events where we brought keynote speakers, and we motivate all the persons in the region. We brought in some cases the mayor or the most important persons in the region to encourage all the companies and individuals also to be part of the process. And Pactos por la Innovación, they can sign in as individuals, as a companies, as an organizations, they can sign that for the Pactos por la Innovación, and when they sign that, they commit to our vision, because we all together want Colombia to be one of the most innovative companies, so the most innovative countries in the region. So these were the three, I would say there are more, but these were the tricky aspects of building that platform, and that platform that allow us to talk strategically and to motivate and to move the country around our vision. So these are some examples of the partners that we have. There were many others in the process, and the mobilization, we did this huge event, and we always track, how many people were signing the Pactos por la Innovación. So we were 4,000, and then more, and we continuously update that number in the process. And the portfolio of benefits, we have points on tax benefits calls, we have the access to innovation systems program, we have the access to an innovation diagnosis that was completely free. You could do a self-diagnosis that shows you the maturity of your organization, and it was very quick and fast. And we have international missions also as part of the portfolio of benefits, to know the ecosystem of Boston, of Brazil, of Israel, and so on, and additional points on other calls. So that was a very nice thing that happens during the process, is that other public institutions started to allow companies, saying, I am willing to give additional points in this call if they are part of Pactos por la Innovación. So that was also a very interesting thing that happens during the process. And others, as I mentioned, in different regions, depending on what they were available to add to the process, there were other benefits. So this is an example of how we create this platform. And of course, it is not only create the platform, you need projects, you need a portfolio of projects, because projects are the ones that put things on actions, that make things happen. And of course, behind that vision, behind the platform, we have a target, and that target of building innovation systems in thousands of SMEs, we needed to make it real. And how we make it real, we built a robust portfolio of projects that allow us to drive growth in Colombian companies to accelerate results and reach the target. And within those portfolio of projects, we have many things. They are interconnected between them, and all of them are important because all of them were part of building this big impact. So I'm going to highlight three of them. I would like to highlight three of them. And I would say there are more projects on this portfolio, but here there are the most important. I would say we have one project that was defining the key components of an innovation management system. And innovation measurement was also a whole project of the portfolio, and the case project, case stories and building case stories. So all of these individual projects were very huge in itself. You know, they need a direction, they had a start point and an end point and an end point. They have resources, they have people allocated. You know, every project, you know, it's important because it's the ones that you use to make it real things. So in one of the projects, which was identifying the key components of an innovation management system, we used all the knowledge that we brought to the country, and we did sessions, we prepared. It was a whole project to identify what are the key components of an innovation management system that help companies make innovation a strategic pillar for growth? What is the minimum that they should focus on to build a capability that allows them to do it over and over again? So we came up with this result. This was the main deliverable of that project, which the minimum components, where we have the leadership and commitment to generate commitment from the CEO or the board to allocate resources to innovation. The other component, innovation strategy, identify why to innovate, what is the growth gap, and define the innovation strategy, targets, goals, and KPIs. What is the innovation ecosystem, and for companies to identify potential partners and new connections within the innovation ecosystem to accelerate execution of innovation initiatives, the innovation ecosystem, and creating that network, because companies were not very familiar with, you know, with win-win collaboration models and so on. So this was one of the key components. And innovation portfolio, not only from the strategic part, but from the tactic part, to take one idea to commercialization and have tangible results of the innovation process. So these were the minimum things that they should that we should cover in those interventions, and that was the focus of this project. The other project was the innovation measurement. As I mentioned, that wasn't part of the discipline, so we started to create this discipline. And these are some examples at one of the moments of the process. So we developed training activities to help companies to recognize and track their investments on innovation, their results and their impacts. Many of the companies were innovating and they didn't know they did it. So when we developed this project, they were very grateful because they didn't know how to do it. So we did some training activities and teach them how to register this kind of investments. So we teach them what is science, technology, and innovation activity and how to register. And in terms of results, we permanently share results, and so we track all the time how many companies end the process of having the innovation management system. We track how many people during the process were certified, and in this case, for example, the Global Innovation Management Institute, that was part of the execution of the process, certify, and this number is of course not the updated, but there were thousands of persons certified on innovation management. And also we track numbers around alliances, new alliances generated during the process. And we also track the purchase orders and what are the, you know, in the idea to commercialization process, we push them to go closer, to go early and to the market with their innovation initiatives. So what we found is that they could go to find who is willing to buy what you are developing. So we push them and we track also that number, and we consistently share results in every region and as a country. And in terms of the innovation system, we also did measurements before and after. So what would, before companies enter to the program, start the program, do you have an innovation strategy? Do you have an innovation portfolio, an expert network to help you, and methodologies and tools and techniques? And with those measurements and before and after, we could see the change. We could see how companies now recognize how to do it. And our objective was to basically give them everything to do it and give them the capability to build the capability for them to do it over and over again. And in terms of impacts also, we had in this project measures around creation of new jobs. And this was something that happened not only within the companies as beneficiaries of the process, but also in our partners. So what we could see is that in many of the chambers of commerce, they created the position or the area of innovation director or it's similars. So it was like an organic growth, and in those chambers of commerce they just started to allocate resources to innovation in a different way or in a very explicit way, and they started also to hire teams for those new areas and innovation. So the growth was happening organically, and the impact was huge, because these chambers of commerce also have a very big influence in what happens in the regions. So we have at some point we have not only the local team that we have in Bogota, which is the capital where the ministry is based, but we have teams in every single partner. We have amazing, and we create amazing high performing teams during the process. And another example of another project that was part of that huge portfolio was building case stories. And you can see here some pictures of companies that were very proud of their prototypes, right? Because, you know, we push them to develop these pilots, to have tangible things, that to make it real, to make that, you know, to show themselves that you can actually do it. And they were very proud of their results. And not only that, but we asked them by building case stories to share their experiences and learnings, and what would they recommend to other ones. I mean, not coming from us, but coming from the same companies. So they share things like every single team that is dedicated to innovation should be multidisciplinary, should have an open mindset, should have different personalities. You should be disciplined and commitment, and have commitment with objectives. And though all those things came from the companies. So that is amazing, because they showed us how they really embrace the process. They are doing it by themselves. And for example, they recommend, what would they recommend for innovation, and to be flexible, to have open mindset, to focus on clients and their needs, and to believe in innovation. And so they generate innovation commandments, and many things around the case stories. So this was another project that we had in the portfolio. And again, all those projects and that were part of the portfolio allow us also to create a bigger one, to rapidly scale up and keep the journey to reach the target with new funding sources. So what we did at some point was to create a project for regions to be able to do it by themselves. So in Colombia, there are royalties, because companies that exploit natural resources, they must pay royalties, and those taxes are allocated regionally for different strategies. And one of the focus of those resources is science, technology, and innovation. But that is something that the regions can access to. So in many regions, there were not the capabilities to develop a project like that with this strong foundation. So what we did was to create that project, to do it yourself in the region. So we embrace and we prepare all the documentation and everything to give it to the country. So that do it yourself in the region was a project and a standard project that we give to the country. We put it as available, and now the project is everywhere, because every region can access to it. And actually, because of some things that changed in the process, every institution can access to it. And if you have the conditions and all the partners and all the legal things, you can just present it to the royalty system and get funding. So right now it's spreading, all around the country, and we basically just give it to them with the strong foundation, because that project has all the experience, all the learnings, all the insights, all the support of a national strategy. So now it's everywhere, and I was looking for current numbers, but couldn't find in the ministry. Hopefully they will update it soon, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and we work on that. So that was the whole experience, and as you can see, it was an organic thing, and we embraced key learnings. We did quick wins. We created a platform. We used the portfolio of projects, and the portfolio of projects allow us to get the results, to transform this into actions, and that is the whole experience behind. So what are the key success factors? I would say, well, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This is a quote from Simon Sinek that I like a lot. And I think that there was a clear why behind all that we were doing. And I would say that why moves everyone to help, to be willing to contribute to it. And of course, there are another key success factors, but I would say that having a why and the willingness to become a better country is the main reason is the main success factor. And of course, there are things related to leadership, because if you don't you need leadership to make it real. You need to find those persons who believe in what you believe, and to join you in that vision. You need to be able to communicate your vision very clear, and to influence and to motivate people to join you in that vision. The other part, the other success factor, I would say, is building trust. And I would say that you build trust with actions. You build trust by being coherent between what you say and what you do, and being committed with results, and being able to deliver what you say. So I think that was part of the key success factors. And building trust, there is another aspect of building trust, which is, I would say, is authenticity, and building genuine relationships. It is not like, it is building genuine relationships with all the key partners, with all the persons involved, with the teams. I think that is a key aspect of building trust. As I mentioned before, embrace key learnings of past projects. I think that is also a success factor. If you don't look back, if you don't embrace the learnings, then you don't know how to do it better. And the probability that you repeat stories is very high if you don't look back and embrace the key learnings. The other one is iterate before doing high investments. As you can see, we did this quick win, this is a small investment before doing a bigger thing, and that allow us to gave us a lot of insights, and build a strong foundation for the process. The other one is commit with results and share them. If you do quick wins, you can commit with results, because you have the right to say, I did it and it works. And you did it on a very small scale, and you test it, so you can commit with results. Because in this space, that sometimes there is fear around committing with results, but we were able to do it because we already did it. And share results. Of course, we consistently share results, and when you share results, you will find someone in the public that will say, that raise their hand, I want to do it, I want to do it, I want to do it. That was something that happens repeatedly. So that is the importance of sharing results. Building high performing teams where everyone can give their talent with I would say in high performing teams, collaboration is the most important thing, but people or individuals giving their talent, giving their best of their knowledge, and complement each other. I would say that was the main thing around building high performing teams. And discipline, of course, when you work in a project of this size as a country level, there is little place for procrastination or doing things at last time. You need to be organized, to have the discipline, and otherwise you are not going to be able to be coherent between what you promise and what you deliver. So those are the key aspects or the key success factors from my point of view. There are many others. There are many things and a lot of experiences and stories around the whole process, but I wanted to highlight these ones. And well, finally, what's next? Of course, this project that looks like a very big thing. Now, if we put it, on one side, you could see, okay, what's next? How can we build again, now that we have this project can become the key learning that's a past project, and we can embrace that past project and build a new platform. So in that new platform, what if we go to new countries? What if we build a global network of mentors and coaches? What if we use digital or lower cost platforms to go to another places. While we partnership with a Global Innovation Management Institute, and at the end, I was thinking on, okay, what's next? What if we build a do-it-yourself for other countries? And regarding the question that we were talking with one of the persons at the beginning, is what if we do that? Do it yourself for other countries, and it's on the table. And so that's it. I hope you find, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you find this useful, and that's open to questions.
Alice, let's stop the show and we have talking heads on this. You can stop presenting.
Okay.
First of all, what a fantastic story of leadership, of being focused on the micro while managing the macro, being understanding of what each individual company needs, but what each region needs, which each chamber needs, each different people needs. So this is a story of managing multiple stakeholders, managing expectations of all the stakeholders, and delivering wins across the whole spectrum, where doing something too much here could actually affect something else somewhere else. And so just to make sure that everybody was happy and all that. So this is a great story of how to manage all that. Let's first of all, just high level question. How many companies did you personally observe getting their innovation systems being built, that you physically went and observed the training and the workshops across the country? How many companies did you personally participate with?
I would say around 2,000.
So you were physically moving between different parts of Colombia and meeting with these companies or observing them getting trained and the systems being implemented. 2,000 of them.
2,000, yeah.
And during those years when you were doing it, how many hours were you actually on the plane traveling around to make sure this is happening?
I didn't have that calculation, but many hours. I almost live in the in the plane.
Yes. The reason I want to share some of this stuff is I think one of the things you said, discipline was an important part of making things happen. But at the end of this thing, there's also dedication and hard work. Right? You can't get away with when you innovate at this scale. You are not just innovating for the SMEs. You are innovating for the country, and you're driving innovation. And in that innovation, there were pivots, things that worked, things didn't work. You were pivoting, changing, and you were experimenting. And you yourself were a startup. You yourself were an innovation startup to a large extent, needing a platform to make things happen. So let's go back and ask you a few questions. What gave you the confidence that you could actually do this? Was it the platforms, the portfolios? What were the drivers that made you feel confident it's possible to do 10,000 companies in 5-7 years?
I will say the quick wins. I mean, you know, the quick wins generate a strong foundation of we can do it. I mean, I did it before, maybe at a little scale, but I think the confidence came from doing it. Basically, that is the answer. Yet the confidence came from doing it and seeing that it is possible. It is possible.
So let me break this problem down. There will have to be a quick win for the small company, the company who was going to build the innovation system. There has to be a quick win for the Chamber of Commerce or the aggregator who was aggregating all the SMEs into different cohorts. And there was a quick win perhaps for the funding agency, which is the Ministry of Science. So what were the outcomes that you were reporting as quick wins that made the CEO of a small company get happy, the chambers get happy, as well as the Ministry of Science get happy? What were those wins on the quick wins basis?
Well, there are many things that, you know, in terms of the companies. Well, I would say the quick win was the purchase orders and the alliances that they found during the process.
Explain that. What do you mean purchase orders and alliances? What does that mean?
So that means that they develop the process when we train them on the innovation system, and they they did it. We pushed them to do it. And even if they were scared to go early to the market or to present a brochure and to say, you know, this is what I'm thinking to develop, and these are the aspects of this new product or new solution that I am developing. We push them to do it, even just to get a letter of that potential client saying, I will be willing to buy it. And that was something that companies were not very comfortable, because they wanted to have the perfect product before going to the market. And so that, you know, that push was a very important quick win for the companies, you know, showing themselves that they can do it and they can get purchase order even before having the final version of the product.
I understand. So what you're saying is you didn't measure necessarily the implementation of innovation systems. You were actually measuring whether they were actually delivering a new product or a new service to a client on the market. So you were actually saying, what's the outcome of innovation? The systems are important, but the real outcome is results.
Yes.
And so you said, do the results and show us some results, and the CEO will get excited.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was connected with, you know, with bringing this intelligence to the country with these new methodologies, because in that environment, when we started, all the things related to innovation were the perception of innovation as an idea generation process, as a design thinking process. So I had the experience in other pilots that we did, of companies with 500 ideas. And now what? Okay, so I have 500 ideas. I don't know how to manage. They have a very great session, idea generation session, but then what? What should I do with them? And so with this focus, when we set up this focus of getting results, it's really capturing the value. So that was one of the main things that we were measuring, because we don't want ideas. We want execution.
You know, Alice, we've seen this also with other companies around the world, that there's this idea generation thing and people think that's innovation. But after the generation, you got to make it real. And if you do make it real, then CEOs get excited because it generates value and money for them. And when it delivers money, that's when innovation begins to have a purpose. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I do think the emphasis on creating value, but capturing value also is a big piece of that. All right, let's jump over to the Chambers of Commerce, who had aggregated 30 companies, 50 companies together. What was a quick win for those guys? That you're a Chamber of Commerce, what could you tell your community and other companies that you had done? What was a quick win?
Well, for these regions, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce, they also have the target of improving and help companies to grow. And so this was a new approach for them, you know, this cohort approach and getting quick results and being able to get to influence or to support many companies, you know, at the same time. That I think that it's a very quick win for the chamber to show that they can have impact in very specific things in group of companies. So that was, I mean, they were able to share regional results. We increased the numbers of companies with innovation capabilities. We have new companies that have new innovative solutions, and also the investments on innovation, because companies are now willing to be part of other programs, and chambers also could connect with other of their programs in some of them international things, and you know, they were able to, you know, to activate all the internal processes.
So they saw the results. One thing that you had mentioned was also that this cohorts drove collaboration amongst each other. So these companies were actually beginning to buy and sell. And they were the first trial markets for the new innovations. Did you see that specifically, or is that part of the KPIs of a quick win?
Absolutely. You know, when we did the pilots, we found that in this cohort-based approach, when companies were in the same place, they start, I mean, you can't avoid, they talk each other. And when they talk each other, they find synergies or they find complements on the product they are developing. So they started to, you know, spontaneously generate these alliances. And that gave us also in that quick win a key aspect of, or a key component of that innovation management system, which is collaboration, which is building the network. And actually in our culture, it is not very common to generate this win-win collaboration. There is always the aiming to get the most of it in a model. So it was new for them to understand that, okay, we can both win in this project. We are both facing uncertainty, because there, of course, in innovation there is uncertainty, but we can go through this together and collaborate in a win-win model.
Alice, that's great stories over here. And then ultimately, how did you or how did the management team of Consciences, the Ministry of Science, actually see the results and says, this looks like we are getting good outcomes and we should continue investing? What told you that you had done the right thing? What was the indicator that they then did something that showed you that you had done the right thing? So what did you show them? And then what told you, well done, Alice, this is a great thing, and the country has done something more?
I would say that there is, you know, this happens over almost 10 years, and we have changing governments during that process. And in our region or in our country, you know, the changing governments usually changing strategies, changing focus, changing everything. And with every change, and not only the change in the government, you know, at the national level, but in particular, the Ministry of Science had many changes in terms of different directors. I would say, let's say at least 5 or 6 different directors during the process. And what told me that well done is that when you share results, they couldn't say no to support the continuity of the program. Why? Because it was not only me, it was the whole chambers of commerce in the country. It was many companies behind. I mean, it was a country talking to a person in charge saying, okay,
Wow.
you know, so what tells me that it's working and is the results. And when you share results, and not as an individual, not as an institution, but you share results as a country, there is no chance. If you were in that position, you couldn't say no. You couldn't say no to that. So
I would have loved to be in that room to see all those companies saying we want more, all the chambers demanding continue with the program.
Yes.
And the head of the Consciences was responsible for this thing saying, well, I'm going to put my money. No, I got to put the money in this direction again.
Yes, you can't say no when the results are there, and results are not a spontaneous generation. There is a lot of behind that. So you cannot hide that. You can, what you can do is to leverage that and actually do a bigger things.
Alice, we got questions from people who are on this call also. We should take calls from Enrique first and then Cristanto. And while they're doing it, I just want to say, Alice, this is a story that should be written down in a book. A story that should be shared more broadly. And I think we could easily have you going to every country where GIMI is and talking about this and helping those countries figure out how to do it locally and help them. With that, let's get Enrique first. He's got a question, but I'm just really impressed.
Thank you, HP. Alice, great to meet you. I'm Enrique Menzone from Lima, Peru. Tremendous story. Thank you so much, actually, for sharing that with all of us. Unfortunately, I need to leave in 3 minutes, but definitely something that we want to talk to you, not only myself, David Fernandez, who is leading also GIMI in Mexico, is interested. And I believe this type of stories is what we need to empower our ecosystems. In Peru, for example, we're years behind what you have done in Colombia. We're at the moment where we're building the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. So it's a good time to, to bring people like you that have done it already, and of course, help other countries such as Peru, Mexico, etc. And well, so for me, I'm very excited, to be here with you and listening the presentation. Thank you so much. I need to leave, but we will connect with you through HP. We're working together to make sure that countries such as Peru and others are, moving to the next level. So thank you so much. And
thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Enrique. Hope we can keep in touch.
That's Enrique and David Fernandez. David Fernandez is in Mexico. Let us add a comment from Cristanto now. You're on mute, Cristanto.
Thank you, Alice, for sharing the success story. By listening to you, I feel like that our innovation ecosystem in Indonesia is very similar to Colombia, except that you have made it and we haven't. So I think I have to learn a lot from you. And I've got 3 questions. One is, when you start the presentation, you are talking about that you encourage organization to measure impact. I'd love to learn how to do that, because when you're dealing with ministries, association, chamber of commerce, everybody hesitated to measure impact. They would love to say that I've done the work and then I've spent the budget and that's it, right? Because measuring impact is risky, because it will actually show that you are not successful. Well, innovation, sometimes you cannot make success all the time. Secondly is about the government and association role. Do you see any impact of government role in, for example, you said about royalty sharing? And then secondly, is there any tax incentive that encourage people to do innovation and actually get a tax incentive in return for the risk that they are taking? Those are the things that I'd like to make it work here, but it hasn't worked at all. And thirdly, actually, like what Enrique said, in your last presentation, you said that you are interested to do it in other countries. So I was wondering if you would be interested to do it in Indonesia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. So for the first one, something that helped us to do the measurement was that we had the support of the IDB and the World Bank, and that is something that you don't negotiate in terms of you need to do it. It's part of the process, because there is a loan behind, and you know, as the IDB and the World Bank, they need to show what is working and what is not. So there is not a chance. So we had that was a very good thing, actually, to have that funding at that moment, because we have not fear to measure, even if it works or if it doesn't work, we need to do it. And so but you know, at the end, it was a very good thing, because what that did was to create a solid foundation. Actually, the impact analysis that we had for that quick win is one of the key aspects also that influence the next allocations of budget, even if it were not from the IDB or the World Bank. It's like we have the measurements and everything. So that was one of the key aspects. So yes, you need to dare to do it. I mean, because it can result very well. And of course, I understand, because when we look back to past projects, what we found is that what work and what haven't worked. And we didn't know because that wasn't part of the discipline, and how you make decisions if you don't have results, if you don't have a impact analysis. And at a ministry, at a ministry level, you should base your decisions on that. It is, I understand you, because that's not part of the culture, but in this strategy, we put it, we use it. And that helped us, you know, supporting the support of the IDB and the World Bank. And for the second question, which was related to the impact and in the government role, of course, all the access to new sources of resources as the royalties money was a huge impact, because we had the opportunity to scale up using that new resources, that new funding resources. And actually in that specific point, those resources that were allocated for science, technology, and innovation historically were mainly focused for universities. Right. So what we did with all the, you know, building all this project and with the strong foundations, we have the possibility to start pushing and open doors to allow this money to go to the productive sector, because it was very locked for the universities, and it was a very hard journey to open that for the private sector and for the productive sector. But the doors were open because of results. Doors were open because of results. Basically, you can say no to results. So in those sharks environments, let's say, it was difficult for them to say no. So we opened that not only, you know, by influencing, convincing, but legally, which is also a very complex thing in our country. So yeah, that was part. And regarding the tax incentives, we have tax benefits for companies that invest in science, technology, and innovation projects. There is a whole process behind, but we have the tax incentives as a, you know, as a strategy, as a permanent strategy. And in this strategy, what we could do is to add additional points, you know, for companies being part of our strategy, of our project. We get some extra points on those tax benefits, calls. But we have the tax benefits incentive as a country for companies that invest in science, technology, and innovation.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Cristanta, for that. We are approaching the end of our session. We should stop at 10 o'clock for this. We've gone 5 minutes over already. So thank you for patience from the audience who might still be here waiting. If you need to leave, thank you very much. Please feel free to go on to do your next thing. We've got another question still from Larissa. And for those interested, let's stick around and see, you know, if you just stick around. Well,
Hello. Hi. So it's not actually a question, it's a comment. When Alice was in the government doing this strategy, I was one of the local leaders of a chamber of commerce in Cartagena. And as in a local perspective, I wanted to add that this strategy came to the cities in the very right timing, because everyone was talking about innovation at the moment, but no one really understood what it was. But companies or SMEs in general were asking for things related to innovation. So one of the things I think made it successful at a local level was the timing, first of all. And the second comment I wanted to make about it was that the pricing model was also very good. Mostly was subsidized by the government and the chambers, but the companies paid a small fee, which gave them, which was good enough to put skin on the game from their part and commit. And I think it wasn't big enough to make them think over whether or not to participate. So I think that specific point was also something that helped engage the organizations at a local level. especially in this country in which SMEs normally are very tight on budget. So it was something I believe made it successful as well. And it helped the chambers from the other side of the party, you know, the SMEs and then the chambers, to establish or position themselves as leaders in this field. Because after this first project, other projects regarding innovation started to emerge. So I think it was the seed that planted many other projects for the chambers as well in this aspect. I just wanted to mention that.
Great, thank you. Somebody on the ground giving personal experience as to what was going on over there. I wanted to make a comment for those who are listening in. Imagine if you were to take 30 companies in a cohort, and imagine if only 10% of those companies actually create something that makes them grow by 10 times. And let's say all the companies are about $1 million each in size, right? So if 10 of those companies go from 1 million to 10 million, right? 3 of those companies become that. 30 companies, 10%. 3 companies become $10 million each because of the innovation initiative. You have generated an additional 3 times 9, $27 million of revenue. And whatever taxes the government collects from that $27 million can pay for those programs by 3 to 5x. So the logic of this whole program is when those companies get to a certain size, their tax basis should be able to pay for the investment of the programs today. So the government must think that if I invest today, their revenues will increase. Will all 30 companies' revenue increase? Probably not. Will 10%? Maybe. If 10% make it, they've paid for the program and the country has actually grown in terms of jobs, in terms of tax bases, in terms of wealth. And this was how Colombia approached the problem, which was basically saying, who's going to pay for it and how will we get a return on investment? And the return on investment came from the fact that you weren't betting on all the companies, 10,000 companies becoming big. You're betting on all 10,000 companies becoming better. You're betting on some of them becoming 2x, and you're betting on maybe 5 or 10% actually becoming 10x. And in that portfolio of returns, this was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer of an investment, but most people didn't have the courage or couldn't actually see how it could work. And what Alice and the team was able to do is for them to visualize it with quick wins. She gave them evidence of results. And then the next second, this story began to unfold. And then it went beyond Alice, I believe. And it's spreading out like a ripple in an ocean or in a big lake. She throws the rock in the middle of the lake, and the ripple is spreading, spreading, spreading. And now it's a tsunami across the country. Alice, any words of wisdom to the group in terms of if they want to do this program in their own countries? Just maybe 3 or 4 things which might be starting points. Where would you start if you were in Indonesia? Where would you start if you were in Peru or Lima or in Korea or somewhere else? How would you start?
I will start by doing the pilots, by designing pilots that just doing it and just collecting that evidence, because that evidence is what will open every doors. So I will start by that, and I will be also happy to help all the countries that are interested and start building or whatever they for the past projects are they did, because that is one of the key things, look to past projects, embrace the key learnings and start doing it. I would say that.
Excellent. Alice, somewhere in here, people are skeptical that there might not be results on the other side. So they're scared to start. How do you give them courage or confidence that if they start, there will be good results on the other side of that cohort that you will execute?
There is always uncertainty when you are doing something new. So the courage comes from why are you doing it? I mean, what is the reason, and for sure that reason behind the why and the vision and what your dreams are, and moves you to try it and to get the courage to do it.
And last question as we wrap up, since this is a GIMI think tank, the GIMI people are interested in how did GIMI contribute to your success, and how did GIMI and IXL support you in what you had to accomplish?
Absolutely. You know, in all the strategy, IXL was part of the main providers of the services around building innovation capabilities, building the innovation system in the companies, and during the process, IXL Center and GIMI allows people to get certifications, to train and to certify their knowledge and innovation, and that was also a very attractive things for people inside the companies, because they could certify that they acknowledge that they are speaking the common language around innovation. So I would say that the contribution of the methodology and the approach of IXL and the Global Innovation Institute, Global Innovation Management Institute was huge. We have, I don't know, you have the numbers perhaps, maybe more than 2,000 or even more are certified in Colombia. So there is, in Colombia, we have a network that speaks the same language around innovation, and that is a very important thing for the country.
Ron, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just one last thing, comment on that. I believe, from having watched these programs in different parts of the world, that the focus on SMEs makes it a huge winner in terms of getting votes, as opposed to helping one large company or two large companies or building one bridge. If you are helping thousands of small to medium-sized businesses, and if that's being promoted and featured by the chambers of commerce, you're going to get lots of votes from a success like this, lots and lots of votes. So I think how you position it's important. I mean, it may be support for small to medium-sized business growth. It's not, maybe even drop the word innovation, but how do you help small to medium-sized companies grow and create benefits for the broader society, not just for the elite large companies?
Thanks, Ron. David and everybody, government will change, and different opinions will come as to what's important, what's not important. But for all of them, whoever's in power, they need to drive some change that creates growth. So in places like Colombia now, as we get to a government which is much more sensitive to the needs of the poor, it's going to be agriculture. Agriculture is going to be a big sector, and if you can help in agriculture, then you've got some innovations there, and you can bring technology and innovate and into agriculture. You can make the small farmer more successful. So it changes the segment of focus sometimes, but every government is looking for some results, and those results are driven by innovation, ultimately by doing something new or something different. So let's make sure we pay attention to that. Okay. So with that, I'm going to bring this meeting to an end in terms of Alice's presentation about how to drive growth, economic growth at scale through SMEs, small, medium-sized companies, enabled by and powered by innovation. We've seen a story, probably one of the few success stories in the world of doing this at scale. People can talk about it about one company. They might be able to talk about it at 10 companies, but very few people can talk about it at 100 companies in 30 different cities around the whole country. This is a phenomenal story of size, scale, and magnitude of activity, but then it also has behind it the results of a country which believes in it and has now put together funds that can be deployed locally by local players trying to customize locally for the needs of the local economy. And Alice, this is a great story. We would like to encourage you to continue putting the story from the storytelling that you did to us today into eventually a white paper. And that white paper, hopefully we can take you around the world and introduce you to people and maybe do speeches on this topic and inspire not just one country, but inspire 200 countries. And then what an impact you would have.
Sure, sure. That sounds exciting. So thank you very much for having me here. It was my pleasure to share this experience in the GIMI think tank.
Thanks, Alice.